All right, slash Market Joe. With that being said, you guys, welcome to a live edition of the podcast. Super excited to be here today. This is episode number 60x, 68 maybe. And this is the first solo show we've done in a while. We've done some, I think the last one we did was a interview with Force Gaming, but new podcasts, as you guys know, come out every Monday. With mini podcasts being released throughout the week. But I appreciate you guys being here, whether you're tuning in live or you're tuning in from Skokie, Illinois with your pot-belly pig. Maybe you're running on the treadmill at fitness time or whatever the Canadian version is. I forget what there's a Canadian chain with a really funny name. But I appreciate you guys dialing in. Thank you guys so much for being here. Because this is a live podcast, I'm going to do the front end of the show like normal. And what that essentially means, I have a show outline, go through that. And at the end of the show, I'm going to be taking a few questions live from the studio audience. Good Life Fitness, perhaps, is what it's called. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for being here. I want to jump into, and if you've never seen or listened to a solo show before, it's like a diary update of what's been going well and what are some things that I've tried that hasn't gone well, or things that, fails that I've learned from. And so in the past couple weeks, a lot has been going on. First thing I want to mention is that the rebranding finally launched on the Twitch show after a lot of work. And there's a few things that went into it that had to make it work. One of the big obstacles was when I got with Jay on the design. He set it up, which is really, really slick, on the OBS Studio program, which is a program you can use to stream. Essentially, someone could design the entire show for you and send you a file, and it pretty much works. The only problem with that is that I have a pretty good computer. I have a streaming PC and a gaming PC. The only issue that caused was that the OBS Studios it didn't run so well on the computer. So it took a while, but I had to kind of retrofit the show, which wasn't a huge deal, but it takes some time back to normal OBS. And essentially, when I say it takes some time, it just, it really kind of hit me as I was going through all the old slides and all the old overlays. I've had the initial OBS overlay set up for like 2 years. So there were scenes in OBS that we hadn't used in like a year. Whether it was like the back 40 or just a bunch of old stuff in there. And it just kind of made me take a step back and realize, man, the show has come a really, really long way. And also that, like, to build up to the point where we are now, like it takes a long time. Like some of the overlays I would look at, I was like, man, it was funny, but it wasn't as good or crisp or dialed in as it is now. And I don't know, sometimes I think about this, not often, but it's like, hey, if you could snap your fingers and have a massive show and a massive Twitch, etc., would you want that overnight? I'm like, I really wouldn't want that, because it wouldn't feel like, that's just not how I want to do it. I want to climb the mountain, meaning that you kind of look back and you're like, man, that's how it started. You could see things start to get pieced, to get better and better and better. Not that we have it figured out by any stretch of the imagination right now, but it's just come a really long way versus like all of a sudden you wake up the next morning and you've exploded. I don't know. I feel like that's not sustainable and nor realistic. And I think the thing that helps is, having an organically, grown show, for lack of a better word. It's just that, it's just part of the process, and I enjoy the process. And I think I don't want to say differences with me and other people, because that's not fair to say, but the way I approach it is such a long-term thing where, like, I've just really, really enjoyed doing this. And, I've been listening to a little bit of stuff, but if I wasn't able to do this, I think my internal happiness would drastically go down. So I just think I'm just grateful for the opportunity and really enjoy kind of the long-term journey of the whole thing. So it was really good, and it was kind of the rebranding wasn't super drastic. It was more of just, hey, we cleaned up around here a little bit. And so I think for the most part, I really saw a pretty positive reaction across the board in Twitch, because I feel like it wasn't like a huge change. But even if there was, even if there was a drastic reaction to it or a lot of criticism, to me, like I would take that in stride, but it's kind of just like a opinion-based decision. It's not like to me, it's a very different decision than deciding what game to play. If a bunch of people or a bunch of the community hated a game we were playing, then it's like, all right, you change. But in terms of this, I feel like not that it's not important to hear that feedback, but I feel like it's just a decision that's been made, and it doesn't necessarily affect the enjoyment of the show, but it just kind of cleans some stuff up. And in the podcast, I like to talk about what goes well and what doesn't go well. And there's some tweaks, and there's still some things we're going to change to the branding, but I feel like that's with anything. It was really, although it says just some minor change, it was a very large overhaul of the show. So some of the alerts and stuff need to be cleaned up and things like that. But for the most part, it went pretty smooth, and I'm really excited and happy about it. And it's just nice to kind of like take that next step forward there. And then in the future, it's not a huge focus, but in the future, there'll be some merch. And I don't know why, but it's not like, I don't know if it's the time of the year or what it is, but I'm just not a huge rush to put any merch together. To me, it's just like, all right, we got the rebranding done. I'm really excited about that. And just if something like feels like natural or organic or it's just the right time, then we'll do some merch. But it's not a huge focus. Like the focus for me of doing the rebranding was not to sell merch. But so anyway, so moving forward, the other kind of big thing I've been involved in is I've talked about it. I feel like I haven't talked a lot about it on the podcast, but I've talked about it a lot with the team, that helps me produce everything. And that's just TikTok. And, I think I don't have any dates, but I know I downloaded TikTok pretty early and I posted one on May 3rd. So, I mean, just to give you some context, that was 7 months ago is when I downloaded and posted one. I really didn't do anything since then, but it's been a priority for me. More so, I feel like I've spent more attention outside of Twitch and YouTube on TikTok than any other social platform I've ever been on. And I think it's twofold. Two is because there's a chance for organic growth, meaning that, and the reason why I do it is to help spread the word of the show and the community, everything we do here. But you could post something on TikTok. So I started with literally no followers, but you could post something on TikTok now and you can get a disproportionate amount of people seeing that, because there isn't a ton of, it's not this platform, TikTok is not as flooded as other platforms for content. So for example, since we started, I think we've posted 46 posts, which I think we started maybe 2 weeks ago, really going hard. So it's like at the minimum, I'm posting twice a day, but sometimes 3, 4, or 5 times a day. And it started really interesting and I feel like it's the best post-production content we've ever released, because I think because I'm very motivated to do things there, too, and because I've had the experience of going through other platforms and kind of swinging and missing. And I feel like I put this much energy into Instagram over the past few months, but it's just a different environment, a different atmosphere, and a different time for Instagram. So TikTok is kind of like Vine 2.0, but there's a lot of tools on the back end for producing content. You can add soundtracks very easily. You can do overlays really easily. It's been a lot of fun to create the content, but also it's been cool to see, how the organic growth, right? So I think the first post we put up, I put a lot of thought into it. Probably took me way longer than it should have, but I did like a Tetris 99 meme video, and it took me a long time to kind of learn the language of TikTok and stuff like that. Not to mention, I probably watched like 5 to 6 hours of TikTok over the past month just to kind of learn. It'd be like someone coming to Twitch for the first time and you see Kappa, you don't really know what it is at first. So you kind of had to learn that language of TikTok. So I posted like a Tetris 99 video with like me physically ascending into the ceiling, and it really didn't do that well. And I was like, dang, that didn't go off as planned, but like, let me keep posting. And so for context, I think maybe it had something like 50 views. And then the next one I posted was like a Tarkov video, and I think it had like 100 views. I'm like, okay. And then when really something kind of hit, I posted one, and this is kind of all off memory, but I can just tell you what it has now. But then my essentially third serious post, it it was a clip from I'm looking at it right now. It's a clip from a PUBG video. I was playing with the random and we get into a motorcycle accident. That right now has 2,500 views. And just to give you context, right now I have 830 followers on TikTok, which is not what's important. But that was the first TikTok that I posted, like that it grew organically, where people were seeing it, not because I tweeted about it. And I was very kind of conscious about not tweeting or putting TikTok on my other social media platforms, because I just wanted to see how it did by itself in its own kind of incubator. So that was the first one that really started to move. And then the next one I posted after that had like 100, 200. And it just kind of, it's like you don't really know what is going to work. So I just kept posting and posting and posting. So I'd get one every, couple days with 1,000 views, but most of them were between 100 and 300 views. And then one got up to 2,000 views, and then one kind of caught fire. And that's, I think, really like when I started to taste a little bit of like, hey, this is working, that's when I really put the foot on the gas. So I posted this random one. And the funny thing is about on TikTok or any other platform, you don't know what's going to work. And so I posted one, it was a Team Unity one with a really strong narrative from beginning to end. But I didn't think it would do any different. But as of now, it's got like 130,000 views, which to me is crazy, in comparison with everything else that's been going on. It's just, the only thing I'd say is I know it has a disproportionate reach opportunity right now, and in a couple months or 6 months it'll be gone. So I'm just really enjoying that. And you're like, well, Daniel, why are you doing that? The reason I'm on TikTok now is because it's like anything else. The end goal is to continue to bring awareness and, grow the community and grow the show with, and I was thinking about this. I'm like, why do I want to do that? And it's twofold. And I think it goes back to why I started the show, or the reason to me that I wanted to have something beyond just watching someone, watching a dude play video games. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but to me, it's like, all right, yes, I really enjoy that, but how can I maybe do more than that? And, that's when started to focus on being positive and in tough situations and things like that. And I know it's like all kind of light brow, but at the end of the day, it's been kind of cool. I'll get messages from time to time now saying, hey, I started watching the show and started to think a little bit different and trying not to be as salty or blah, blah, blah. And that's really one of the cool things about the community in the show is that, and it's not always easy, but I think that's kind of like, if it was just about playing video games, I think I would feel differently about it. But I kind of feel not in a like a self-aggrandizing way, but maybe there's a shot to kind of do a little good in addition to entertain. I don't know. Maybe I'm like pie in the sky on that, but so bottom line is that's been going really well. In addition to that, there's been a really fun kind of, I guess you call it online reality competition called Champions Assault. And I've been really excited to compete in it. It's been organized by Kate, who we brought on the show to interview, and she really did a good job, but it's fun to just go and do something and not have to organize it, because I know organizing something like that's not easy, and everything we do, I have a really good team, but we spend a lot of time planning a lot of stuff and executing. So it's fun just to be able to kind of show up and do something, but it's part of a bigger production. Nothing against Team Unity, we just, we show up and we have like a loose plan in terms of game, but like this is really structured. There's segments. So it's a lot of fun to kind of just take off like the production hat for something content wise and just kind of go and have fun. So that's been really fun, and it's been cool to see the reaction to that, because it's like a mix of like reality TV and streaming games, which is fun. It's been fun. A couple of things been going on. I had a chance to try out RuneScape for the very first time, and I know there's a really large contingency of people that still play RuneScape, but it was one of those games that kind of I think I was involved in other games at the time. Let's see, when did RuneScape come out? But it was, I always feel like RuneScape is like other people's Ultima Online. If it came out in 2001, really, it came out in 2001 and it looked like that. But I feel like I get after playing it, I did it for a sponsored deal, or a bounty. I get why people really liked RuneScape and why they still play it today. I feel it was like a more mass appeal to Ultima Online. And I know how playing Ultima Online, kind of stirs up a bunch. But I think it's really cool to see how strong of a following it's still. Like, it has a legit following. Like, Ultima Online at this point is very, 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 very niche. Or like RuneScape now is like, there's still a really big fan base, which I think is cool to see that a game like that is still around. Because I think it must have had a lot of people had a really fun experiences in that and still are able to kind of live in that, in that same way while it's still being kind of new today. Outside of that, we were kind of hitting stride with going back to the show format that has really done well in the past. When I say done well, in terms of a lot of enjoyment, a lot of excitement, I'm fired up. I think it's like, if you ask me the ideal show, it's Tarkov and a Souls game. And so we've started Bloodborne, and I'm really, 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 really enjoying it. It's a little bit change of pace from the Dark Souls in terms of the mechanics. A little bit. It's just like kind of Dark Souls on speed, but it's really fun. And I think it comes at a really good time. I try not to think like this, but I kind of think in the back of my head, oh man, this is going to end. And then, it's so enjoyable. It's like one of those games you don't want to end. And I don't know, and we've barely scratched the surface. So I'm really excited about that. But it's also kind of made me think, one of my, I guess, gifts and curses is that I always try to think down the road. I'm like, okay, after Bloodborne, then what can we play? And there's other Soulsy like games, and I think they'll be fun to play, but I don't know. I don't know exactly, and I can't give you an answer. I can't. There's only one way to do it. Only one way to tell us it. I don't know if it's going to capture the kind of excitement that there's really been around in Bloodborne, because I feel like Bloodborne is a very beloved game, especially when people get a chance to see someone play it for the first time. It's kind of one of those games. It's like Dark Souls, where the first time you see someone fight the Capra demons or, what have you, it's just an exciting thing to watch. But eventually, I don't know if we'll ever outkick our coverage with the Souls games, meaning that I think there's enough in the hopper that, and the rate at which we play them, I think there's enough. I don't want to throw a ton of titles out there. There's Sekiro, there's, and I know it's different. There's Neo. I know Neo 2's coming out. Even the new Jedi game, which I like Star Wars a lot. I know people have kind of said it's a little bit Soulsy. I know it's like maybe in the same country, but not the same state as Souls games. People have talked about the Surge. I've tried the Surge once on Xbox One, I think, back in the day, but didn't really give it a chance. So I think there's enough of those games with that kind of combat, although the lore and things like that may not be there, but I'm definitely open to trying them. Even a game like the original one, Demon Souls, I'm not opposed to trying that either. Just because I think that kind of game is really fun to watch. It's engaging to watch, and it's a lot of fun on this end to play, and it's a challenge. I think when I boil everything down that I've learned from YouTube and Twitch in terms about what content or what kind of games fit what we do here, it's challenging games that are still fair. I don't know. I feel like that's like, if you're like, hey, Dan, what kind of games do you think do best and you most enjoy? That's what I would say. And so I don't know. It's interesting to kind of have that insight 7 years after starting. So yeah, so I don't know. So that's going really well on the show. I hired Ricky Summer. So this is a unique story that I wanted to share, and just how ideas and things that are produced just kind of come out of nowhere. So there was a post on our subreddit. Let's see if I don't know if I can have the date, but anyways, it was an individual from the community who had posted the Tetris 99 Scary House theme song that we made up lyrics to. I believe she posted the tabs or the music on what the song was, and then I don't know if she posted her playing it or after I saw that, if I asked her, hey, would you play that on clarinet? I think she may have posted her just playing it. I'm like, yo, this would be a great idea for a song. So I went to And this is how you never know how stuff comes together. So I went to Ricky Summer. I'm like, hey, look, can you make a Ricky Summer-esque song, but institute this clarinet into it? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So I hired him to do that. He put the song together. And then about like halfway through, I'm like, one of the moderators is a very, very well experienced, well-renowned, well-versed cello player. I'm like, hey, can you play a little sample of, we call the song Minka's Castle, and send it to me on cello? No big deal. Like, LOL. Something like that. I'm just like, hey, do you want to be in the song? And she's like, yeah. So we put that in there. And then he produced the song. And then I'm like, okay, I could release the song now, but I'm like, and I want to do something a little bit more. So then I had Zane, the editor, who's on the staff. Like, hey, Zane, can you do a music video for this? This is what in my head, this is what it looks like. And the first time he sent back a music video, I'm like, I didn't do a great job explaining it. Let me clarify it a little bit more. And so then a music video was produced for it. I'm like, this is it. But if you go back to the whole beginning of it, it came because one individual, posted something and the community Reddit about it. And all of a sudden it's like, bam, just something like that happens. And it was a lot of fun. And so I think I did pretty well, in terms of on YouTube. And that's the thing, when I do something like that, I have zero expectations. I did it because I thought it'd be fun and I think people would enjoy it. And now we have a new song to listen to on the show, which I think is really cool. And there's community members in it. And it's actually listen to it because it's good. I listened to the no vocals version of it. But anyways, so that was another cool thing that happened. But also just there's like a little story behind it that it came out of nowhere. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is kind of hitting stride a little bit, doing some collaboration stuff with Ryan Gary. The Police Stories game, I think, it's like a blank enough canvas for us to kind of just riff off each other. And it's a really fun series. And I feel like you kind of learn a little bit, like, when you work with someone for a long enough time, you're like, all right, hey, what kind of games work and which don't? And I feel like any kind of game where we can just like play cooperatively without a lot of stuff going on, but we have to work together, I think is pretty good. It's kind of like going back to the challenging games that, that fit well in the show. It's kind of like the same thing. You get like a better vibe of what goes well with who you're working with. And so I think that's kind of hit stride, and we finished out the series. So those will be hitting the channel with a finale over the next week. And it was a really fun experience, and I think it was a really enjoyable one. And that's part of the thing that I don't overlook when doing collaborations, is that my first thing that I look at, or whether it's on Twitch or YouTube, if I'm going to do a collaboration or work with someone else, is that it has to be fun. And I know that may be the inverse way to look at it, but that's how I look at it. Like, if I work with this person, no matter what, whether the series or the show or the joint stream, whether it goes well, quote unquote well or not, is it going to be fun? And I think when I start with that, then it usually, like, it doing well follows. And so I think that's been something that's been reiterated in doing this Police Stories series with Northern Line, and it's gone really well. And it was a fun experience. And obviously no spoilers, but we finished the game, and it was kind of like I don't know. I feel like I gotta always close these loops. And whenever you finish a game on YouTube or Twitch, it's kind of a weird feeling. If you don't do it, but the best way I can describe it is like, it just feels really good to finish a game, not kind of leave it open-ended because people get disinterested or because the game bugs out. Man, I'm a Dan. But outside of that, yeah, it's been a pretty good stretch here for things going on in the show. I always like to, with the podcast, I always like to give some insight, or not advice, but like something that I've learned that I've either failed at that I think you listening can learn from, or something that I failed at just to be like, yo, this, not everything we do works. But I don't know. I still think internally the biggest challenge I deal with is just staying on top of things, balancing everything, with everything with YouTube and Twitch, and then my real life kind of business that I run. It's like if that flares up at all, then the first thing that fall off on this end is the YouTube videos, which it's disheartening for me because that's the thing I struggle with. And so it inevitably is going to happen. Like my quote unquote real life business, things will flare up and there's problems and stuff I have to deal with, which I'm happy to do it. But I'm not happy with what I have to give up to do that, if that makes sense. So I know the first thing to fall off if that business gets busy or whatever, there's problems I have to deal with, that YouTube falls off. But YouTube's really, really, internally, it's important for me because I just enjoy doing it, but also I know how important it is on the greater scheme of things. So that's kind of the thing that if I were to say I'm struggling with something now, that's what I'm struggling with. But at the same time, what I'm trying not to do, which is typically what I do, is then I'll overextend. I'll stay up really late trying to keep YouTube videos up. And then like, instead of missing a day YouTube videos, then like the next 2 or 3 or 4 days kind of get yeeted around. So I guess the takeaway is like, I've given myself a little permission to be like, all right, look, hey, like things are busy, or there's some fires you got to put out in your real life business. Cut yourself some slack, take the L on Monday, and then get everything going as fast as possible, but don't get fully knocked off track. So that's something that I've learned, and it's taken time because I immediately think, well, if this is not getting done, then I just have to stay up later to do it. And sometimes that's the case, but I was doing it to like a really, really, for me, really unbalanced detriment, staying up till 2 or 3 a.m. to make sure there's enough videos. And to me, the trade-off is what I guess I'm accepting of now that I wasn't before, is that I'd rather miss a day of videos and stay on target for 7 days or the rest of the month and kind of get yeeted. Because that's a tough thing, man. Once you get off cycle, and I know a lot of people, I don't say I know a lot of people, but you often see other people in the same space in YouTube and Twitch say, oh, my sleep schedule's messed up. And that's like, I have a lot of empathy and understanding of that, and that's not an easy thing to correct. So it's kind of like, hey, do you sack town, 1 day of videos for the greater good, or do you throw it all in the hamper for one video? I'm not explaining it well, but I've kind of, I guess the bottom line is like I've kind of internally self-told myself, all right, take the L on this day, but just catch up tomorrow, but don't throw your whole schedule off trying to do it. But anyways, with that being said, because this is a live show, and this is the first solo podcast we've done live on Twitch, so if you're happy watching live right now, do you have any specific questions or any topics you want me to address? I think now would be a great time to just at me. And in the meantime, I also posted, so I do want to follow up on this. I posted something else I've been messing around with is YouTube stories. Essentially, it's like Instagram stories, but on YouTube. And I posted earlier on there, I said, hey, if you have a question, I was going to answer it directly. So this one is from YouTube stories, and it says, hey, Dan, any advice? This is a pretty deep question, something I normally don't go into, but because Caleb asked it, I'm going to hit him with it. It says, Caleb says, Dan, any advice for a young man who wants to create a happy family like yours? General dating tips on how to find and treat a lady. I didn't read this. I don't have a dad to ask this question. I respect you a lot. Yo, Caleb, first and foremost, man, thank you so much, for the trust, I guess, in asking that. So my advice to you, not that I'm qualified to give dating advice, but what I would say is just be very aware of what you like and what you don't like in terms of what kind of life do you want to have? Okay. And kind of try to visualize what the end goal looks like and then work back from there. Okay. So if you want X, Y, and Z, and you're like, okay, what kind of person? I guess the best way to say it is like you need to, and I don't want to say this without being cliche, but like you have to become what you want to attract. So if you want a positive partner, spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you need to become more positive. And I know it sounds weird, but like this is what I always equate it to. I don't know if I was in college. I might have been in college, and I was like really, really knee deep in coaching football. I was working like 16, 17, 18 hours a day, and all I was doing was football and football, football. And I'm like, man, no one's called me lately, like in terms of friends and things like that. And then I took a step back. I'm like, well, all I do is work. So why would people call me? So then what I did, and I don't know why I remember this, but then I remember that night I got home from work. It was pretty late. But what I did is I went through and I like texted and called like a bunch of friends. And then what do you know? The next week, all of a sudden, like some friends were calling me back and text me and things like that. So I think it's like for whatever reason, I haven't thought about that since just right now, but essentially whatever you want, that's kind of what you got to put out there. And I guess the key is actually you doing the stuff. So I don't know if this helps you, Caleb, or not, but whatever type of person you want to attract, you got to, or the general qualities you want in that person, I would say you need to display those genuinely on your own. And you may not be there yet. Like if I would have started this show, the show that we have now on Twitch in 2012, it wouldn't be the same show because I didn't look at things the same way. It would be very, very different. So it takes a while to get there, but I think that the key is just take a vision of what you want your life to be like and then start making internal changes to make that happen. So I don't know if that's super helpful, Caleb, but I hope it does help you in some way. The second question, which is a little bit more topical. Like I said I was going to answer these on the YouTube stories. I'm going to answer them. It's from Oscar Walsh. It says, probably too late, but I was wondering Oscar Walsh on YouTube, I was wondering if you have plans to keep up the Isaac series, and if so, for how long? Until you beat Blue Baby, Mega Satan, or 100% of the game. Also, if you have the DLC, I would recommend playing Greed Mode. It's the best part of the game. Oscar, so right now the goal is to beat the game with each of the characters, and then kind of take it from there. And if there's a huge demand, then I'll probably keep playing it as long as we're still having fun. So I hope that answers your question. That being said, I'm going to take a few questions from the live Twitch show right now. The first one is coming. I'm going to answer as many as humanly possible, as quickly as possible, even if they're meme questions. Cataclysm says, I went to get some bagels from the pantry, had some mold on them. I decided to throw them in the toaster thing. It would cook off the mold. I would highly advise against that. Don't eat moldy stuff. Oworth12 and Twitch says, are there any games you want to play, but because you don't think, are there any games you want to play, but don't play because you think you don't think they'd be enjoyable for the audience? Yeah, there's a bunch, man. Like there's games that I would like, I would say a bunch, but there's games I would love to play, but I'm like, man, they wouldn't work on the show. And I think the biggest ones that come to mind are sports games. And typically those would be some of the first games I play not on camera or not recorded, but that portion of that time or that portion of my life, the time when I, would play like NCAA or NBA 2K or Madden, like at home on my couch, that time doesn't exist right now for me like it used to. Like there's it is, I'm happy with the trade-off, I guess. Like before you're married, before I was married, I had time to do that. When I was married, I had a little less time, but more time. But now with 2 kids, I don't have that. I choose not to have that time, like playing that off camera. Like I don't, and that's the thing that sometimes I think about is I really, unless I'm traveling, aka on a plane, I really don't play anything for quote unquote fun anymore. But I'm 100%, million percent okay with that for the trade-offs. Trade-offs meaning that I get to do it, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on YouTube as like a business or as like a job. And also, like I wouldn't, my family time, it's not like I'd rather be playing Madden than spending time, with my sons, if that makes sense. And if I did, I would do it, but it's not like there right now. So I think those would be, to answer your question in a long-winded way, there are some games. Madden is really one that comes to the top of my head. NBA 2K is another one. So hope that helps to answer your question. Elreal Tristan, says no question, but thankful for the positivity and great content you put out. You helped me achieve my goals. And great to watch and help you grow your business. Yo, Elreal Tristan, speaking of people on TikTok, man, that's cool. I mean, it's different, man. When you just do, it sounds like straightforward, but it is. If you just execute and try things, they either work or they don't. And that's one of the biggest takeaways I think in the past 5 years I've learned is just do things and don't think about doing them. Just do them, see what happens. If it works, do more. If it doesn't, don't do it again. Next question. Do I plan on playing Doom Eternal when it releases? I don't know. That could be a wait and see. When I play a game a little bit off the beaten path, like a FPS action game, it really depends on the length. Like if Doom Eternal, if it's like 6 to 12 hours long, has a much greater chance of being played on the show than if it was like 15 to 25 hours long. Majestic Beer says, how many people in Skokie would you estimate have a Potbelly Pig? I think at least 10 people. Apes in a Bin on Twitch says, Dan, do you ever feel like you're playing characters when you're streaming, or does it come across naturally? I think the answer to that question, I kind of have to answer in a roundabout way. It's like, in real life, I am not like this, meaning that I'm not as outspoken or not like as cracking jokes and stuff. I think I'm more shy in real life. I'm more like just chill at a party or something like that. Like you wouldn't even notice me. I'm just kind of off to the side. But like that's who I am. But this is also who I am, if that makes sense. But it's definitely like, I don't know, because it's not like I'm fake. Like I'm not faking when I'm on the Twitch show. It's not like I'm faking how I'm acting or anything like that. They're both, I guess, just versions of me. I guess, and then I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it. It's me, but it's also like I'm also different ways in real life. Alicia Schneider says, do I play horror games? Alicia on Twitch, I play one horror game per year because I like them, but I don't like they're jump scares. I like experiencing jump scares once a year. I think that's fair. Zephanon on Twitch says, a lot of people always say their wish they're as charismatic as you are. That's a debate doubt. But thanks for the flattery. What are some troubles your level of charisma has gotten me into? I think it's gotten me out of more trouble than into more trouble. But it's definitely gotten me into some trouble. I'd say it's overwhelmingly helped me more than it's hurt me. Although it's not. It's not without its fault. False. When you get rich and famous, will you resurrect NCAA football, please? Pineapples Smaz on Twitch wants to bring back the NCAA series. I love it, but it's a really, really large time commitment. It's like every episode is minimum 35 to 50 minutes. And really, to do it right, they got to come out every day. So it's a huge time commitment. But I do love it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So it's kind of one of those catch-22s. Duke Lito says, any chance for a Twitch/YT numbers update, man? We haven't done those in a long time. I will say this, though, that in terms of, I used to do number updates all the time on the vlog on YouTube. And I just haven't done that in a while, just because I think I've taken less priority on it, meaning that it's not as important to me. Like the focus isn't there, although it's nice to measure and have an idea, but my focus is always on just making the best video or making the best show as possible, and just knowing that over time, long term, it'll work. But I will say one of the surprises, because I have zero expectations when I do anything, one of the great surprises for me of this past year was starting the VOD channel, which let me see when that first. So the VOD channel, in case you don't know, I started a second YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dan Gheesling Plays, just for the sole sake of having one place to chop up Twitch shows, so that, because watching a VOD on Twitch isn't the easiest to access. In addition, some people don't watch Twitch, but like the Twitch shows, which I know may sound a little bit backwards, but it's true. So I'm like, well, let me, and I noticed that I was like flooding my YouTube channel. I'm like, I don't want to flood the channel anymore with a lot of videos. So actually, it's been over a year. That's surprising to me. But the first video we put up on channel 2 was October 26, 2018. So it's been a little over a year. And there's almost 11,000 subscribers on that channel. And there's times when I feel that the audience or the videos on the second channel do disproportionately better than on the first channel. So for example, like let me take a one off here. Bloodborne episode 5 on YouTube channel 2, which the channel has almost 11,000 subscribers. Bloodborne episode 5, so it's not the first episode, aired 2 days ago and has 1,900 views. Okay, let me go to channel 1. So channel 1 is youtube.com/DanGheesling. I've had this channel since 2012. Something that I produced specifically for YouTube. That was put up 2 days ago. Scavs, a Tarkov video, relaxing reserve loot hunting, was put up 2 days ago. Has 1,100 views. So I feel like the retention. I don't know if it's the retention or whatever, but I feel like the second channel is more efficiently dialed in than the first channel, which ultimately is on me to figure out, and I'm excited about that. But the cool thing about the second channel is that it has a clear plan, and really I'm pretty hands off on the second channel. So that's pretty cool. So I'd say that's probably been one of the biggest surprises for me of the past year. I don't know how we got to that. But we got there. So that was, Duke Lito wanted to ask about Twitch numbers. And next question. Lotans22 on Twitch says, what kind of mindset do you have before you start a stream? How do you feel before and after? So the majority percent, I would say 95% of the time before I start a show, I'm like scrambling, because there's like a pre-flight checklist of, hey, reboot both computers, start OBS, start the voting bot, start Winamp. What else do I have to start? Start the chat bot program, bring up stream elements, load into Tarkov. Do we have a first raid ready to go? Okay. Then go to, if the raid's not ready to go, set up a first set of gear so we can jump right into a first PMC raid with very little, right away to keep the show moving. Then go to Snapchat, Instagram stories, sometimes YouTube stories, and then Twitter, and then post that we're live, and then go live. So it's pretty hectic. And typically, if the show starts at 11, and I start getting ready at 10:45, it's not enough time. So I really got to start at 10:30, kind of the pre-flight checklist. And then, then we're ready to go. But in terms of a mindset, the second the show goes live, meaning once we play the trailer and really once the show opening song starts, then it's like I'm just fired up, ready to go. But getting to that point can sometimes, it's very like hectic. One day what I'll do is, I think I've done it before, but I'll go live on Instagram or something when I'm on a late start, so you can see how hectic it is. Because it's a little, when I say hectic, it's like, it's not a big deal, but it's not like, hey, I have a nice cup of tea just steamed while I'm slowly setting up the show. and it's no one's issue but mine, meaning that like that's the way my life is designed right now. One day would it be nice to start a show at like 9 a.m. with a nice cup of joe and not have to run my second business or whatever, run my real life business? Yeah, but that's not the reality of it. I'm just extremely grateful for the opportunity to do this, because it internally, selfishly, it brings me a lot of happiness and joy. So I'm happy to kind of like, I'm 1,000% happy for the trade-off of like running around like a chicken with its head cut off, because I get the chance to do this. All right, we'll take a few more questions. Have I ever met Majestic Beard? Have you ever socially engineered your way out of a speeding ticket? No, but the best advice I can give is when they pull up on you, make sure both hands are on the wheel at 10 and 2, because They got ball players too, meaning that you want to make, in my opinion, you want to make the police's job as easy as possible. And if your hands are on the wheel, then they don't have to worry about, hey, is this dude have bad intentions? So that's what the least thing I try to do. I can't say I'm not salty when I get pulled over, but a lot of the times I put my hands on 10 and 2. I'm like, I was speeding. They got me. What am I gonna say? Yeah, I could be a little salty, but he's not wrong. So knock on wood, I haven't got a ticket in a while. I think the last one, I'm not even tell you the last one I got. Unworldly Origin says, Dan, when is Mario Maker returning? I think with the new content update, I think I've had enough time to desalinate from the last level on YouTube. So I think I'm going to try to get a video up this week on it. But that's the thing. I don't like saying what I'm going to do. I'd rather just tell you when it's done. But I wanted to answer your question. Camtron says, hey, Dan, it's the Cameron you made the YouTube story about. You made my day, Dan. Hey, I appreciate it. Yo, thank you so much for asking the question, man. I appreciate you being here. Last two questions. Will you be making less YouTube-specific content in the future, pivoting more to Twitch? No, quite the opposite. To me, it's like, and I've talked about this before, if we're looking at like, just call it what it is, revenue, it's a literal no-brainer. Like the books, if you're looking at the accounting, you're looking at the books, says Dan spend 9,000,000% of your time on Twitch and nothing else. That's not how I look at it though. I look at it as what is best long-term, and best long-term, I believe, is doing both. So I have no plans anytime soon to stop making YouTube exclusive content. I just think it's too important. I think there's people on YouTube that have been there for a long time, and they enjoy that and they don't watch Twitch. I think there's a chance for discoverability on YouTube that you can't necessarily get on Twitch or vice versa. So there's no chance that I'm going to stop anytime soon. Super Guest 2 says, outside of Unity, are there any content creators you actively follow? I follow, when I say follow, like I don't really watch a ton of Twitch. I'll watch like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here. And outside the people I collaborate, so take away all the people that like I've collaborated with, like someone like Deadly Slob, I watch Markstrom. Take all those people out of the equation. So take out like all my friends and acquaintances. I don't know why I said friends, like, but people like that I've worked with. I'll watch. I think Dr. Disrespect really has, from the beginning, like just created a different way to stream. I enjoy watching some of his stuff. From like the production side, you know, I would say we're very different in our salination levels. But I enjoy that it's like you watch them and it's like there's a lot of production involved. And I'm not just talking about overlays and like special effects. I'm like, there's a lot of thought behind that. And that's the kind of stuff I gravitate to. It's not just someone pushing a button, saying stream, and then playing games for 8 to 10 hours with no purpose. Not like, and that's not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I'm gravitated to watching. So the other thing, you know, I'm going to give you another real answer. Let me see. Not that I ever get fake answers, but let's see who else I follow that I actively watch. I said that's really it that I can think of that I go out of my way and be like, oh, he's streaming. Let me see what's going on.
Sit yourself down.
But I just really appreciate his approach to it. I know, you know, some people like that, some people don't, but I really think he's, you know, everything aside, I feel like he just, he treats it like a show for the most part. And I don't think you see a ton of that in live streaming nowadays. But yeah, that's, I think that's it. Han Solo, last question, says, would you give a commencement speech at your alma mater if given the chance? What would you say? I would do it. I think I would give a very different talk than I would normally give. It's just really different. I would just talk about what has been done and what you can learn from it, as opposed to like pontificating stuff. Yeah, or I'd just go up there, grab the mic, said run your sets, drop the mic, and walk off. That'd probably be the best thing to do. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast if you were watching live. And if you're listening to this on your Monday morning commute, or maybe 10 years from now, maybe 3 years from now on a random Tuesday when you're driving a bus from Milwaukee to Arlington Heights. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. As always, there will be a fresh, brand new podcast next Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, if you're not subscribed to the podcast feed on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or the VODs on YouTube, I encourage you to do so. Well, at least the audio versions, because there are we produce 3 shows a week throughout the week. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you guys next time.